Loretta Lynn was more than a country music icon. She was also a mother of 6 by the time she was 32. In fact, she married her husband Oliver Diddle Lynn when she was only 15 and had 4 children by age 20. Juggling stardom and motherhood wasn't easy. Loretta often missed holidays and precious moments at home while touring relentlessly. Her children grew up in the long shadow of her fame, each forging their own path. Some followed in her musical footsteps. Others chose quieter lives on the family ranch. They faced triumphs, trials, and even tragedies, including the devastating loss of 2 siblings. Whatever happened to Loretta Lynn's 6 children? Number 6. Betty Sue Lynn. Born when Loretta was just 16 years old on November 26, 1948. Betty Sue made Loretta a mom even before she made her first record. In many ways, mother and daughter grew up together. Loretta once quipped that at times it seemed like we were raising each other. Despite Loretta's hectic touring schedule in those early years, Betty inherited her mama's musical talent and fiery spirit. By her 20s, Betty proved to be a natural songwriter, penning lyrics to 2 of Loretta's hits, Wine, Women in Song, and The Home You're Tearing Down. If you've ever hummed along to those classic tunes, you might be surprised to learn Loretta's own daughter wrote them. It was a case of like mother like daughter, with Betty sharing Loretta's knack for honest, sassy storytelling and music. Betty's upbringing was anything but ordinary. With a famous mom often on the road, Betty took on responsibilities at a young age, helping look after her younger siblings. Yet, she and Loretta remained extremely close. Not a day went by that they didn't talk on the phone, Loretta reminisced. As an adult, Betty kept a relatively low public profile, despite her songwriting for her mom. She lived in Tennessee and raised a family of her own, giving Loretta some of her very first grandchildren. In fact, Loretta became a grandma at the astonishing age of 34, when Betty had her first daughter at 18. Betty had 3 daughters, one of whom she even named Loretta after her mom. This growing family brought Loretta tons of joy. Sadly, Betty Sue's life was cut short. After battling emphysema, a chronic lung condition, Betty passed away on July 29, 2013, at the age of 64. Losing her firstborn was a heartbreak Loretta felt deeply. Every year afterward, Loretta honored Betty's memory, sharing touching anecdotes and photos. She described Betty as feisty and fun with a heart of gold. It's clear Betty wasn't just Loretta's daughter, she was also her dear friend. Number 5. Jack Benny Lynn. Just a year after Betty, Loretta welcomed her first son. Jack Benny Lynn was born on December 7, 1949, and he was the spitting image of his dad, Doolittle, a real chip off the old block. Unlike his sisters, Jack wasn't drawn to the spotlight of show business. Instead, he had a passion for the family ranch at Hurricane Mills, Tennessee. Growing up amid rolling hills, horses, and country life, Jack became an outdoorsman at heart. He worked as a ranch hand and even as a blacksmith, tending to the horses and the land. While his mother and some siblings sang on stage, Jack felt more at home on horseback under the open sky. In a family full of music, he proved that not every apple falls right next to the tree. His calling was the cowboy life. Jack married a woman named Barbara and became a father as well. Together, they had a daughter, Jenny, and Jack also had 2 other children from a previous relationship. By all accounts, Jack was a quiet, gentle man, devoted to his family and farm. Loretta adored her blonde-headed, blue-eyed baby boy, and loved that he preferred a simple life. Whenever Loretta came off tour to spend time at home, Jack would be there in the barn or riding trails, ready to catch up with his mama. They shared a special bond. In fact, among all her kids, Jack was known to be one of the most tender-hearted, a big guy with a soft side. But the Lynn family was destined to face a terrible tragedy. On July 22, 1984, disaster struck. Jack attempted to cross the Duck River on horseback on the family's own property and drowned in the rushing waters. He was just 34 years old. The whole family was devastated. Loretta was far from home on tour that night, performing under the bright lights while unaware of the darkness unfolding at home. Exhausted from non-stop touring, Loretta collapsed from exhaustion on stage and was rushed to a hospital in Illinois. That was when her husband, Doolittle, had to travel to her bedside to break the news that their son was gone. She tore to pieces, Loretta's youngest daughter, Peggy, later said of her mother's grief. Losing Jack was like losing a part of Loretta's heart. Friends recall that Jack was very close to his mom, and it took a long time for her to heal from his loss. Today, Jack's memory is cherished by his family. Loretta would post tributes every year on the anniversary of his death, often sharing a favorite photo or story and saying, "You still bring a smile to me every time I think of you." Number 4. Clara Marie Lynn. By 1952, Loretta was only 20 years old and already a mother of 3. That year, on April 7th, she gave birth to Clara Marie Lynn, better known by her nickname. Grew up right in the thick of Loretta's early rise to fame. Imagine being a toddler backstage at the Grand Ole Opry or napping in the back of a tour bus. That was Cissie's childhood. Perhaps it's no surprise that as she got older, discovered she had country music in her blood. She could sing, and she could sing well. Eager to make her own mark, hit the road and spent years performing as an opening act for some of country music's biggest legends, including stars like George Jones, Mel McDaniel, and Conway Twitty. Night after night, stood on those stages warming up crowds for names that her mama knew well. It takes guts to step out of a famous parent's shadow, but did just that, proving herself as a genuine talent. While touring, found love too in a very close-by place. She married John Beams, a singer-songwriter who also happened to be Loretta Lynn's driver for nearly 20 years. This meant John not only understood the music life, he was also already like family. The couple settled in Hurricane Mills, close to Loretta's ranch. By the 1980s and 90s, as Loretta's career mellowed a bit, and John tried something new, they opened a country store and music barn just down the road from the ranch where tourists and locals could shop for handmade Tennessee goods and music memorabilia. Often you might even catch singing there for visitors. It was a humble, happy endeavor that kept Loretta's down-home traditions alive. If you drove through Hurricane Mills back then, you'd see a sign for Cissie's store welcoming you in. In recent years, that store closed its doors, but it symbolized how deeply the Lynn family is woven into their local community. Perhaps Cissie's proudest moment came in 2011 when she reconnected with her mom in the recording studio. She and John Beams created an album titled The Daughter of the Coal Miner's Daughter, consisting entirely of singing her favorite Loretta Lynn songs. And who produced this heartfelt tribute album? None other than Loretta Lynn herself. It was the first time Loretta took the reins as a producer. Working side by side with her mother on that album was a full circle moment for, "I was definitely honored to do that," she said, reflecting on how meaningful it was to preserve her mom's music in her own voice. She also mused that one day her children and grandchildren would listen to that record and say, "Their mama and their grandma did this all." It was about family legacy as much as music. After that project, quietly stepped back from the spotlight. Now in her 70s, she enjoys a peaceful life away from showbiz. She's still in Hurricane Mills, often right there for family gatherings and helping out around the ranch when needed. Number 3. Ernest Ray Ernie Lynn, as born on May 27, 1954, in the thick of his mama's early honky-tonk singing days. As a boy growing up at the Lynn family ranch, Little Ernie, as Loretta called him, had music around him from day one. He'd often tag along with Loretta to shows, and by the time he was a young man, he was performing too, strumming guitar and singing as part of his mom's band. In fact, Ernest became a regular opening act and bandmate for Loretta during her tours. Fans at concerts in the 70s and 80s might remember Loretta bringing out her handsome son to sing a number or two. On stage, they had an electric mother-son chemistry. Off stage, they were extremely close. Loretta affectionately called Ernest one of her best friends in the whole world. That tells you a lot. Despite any trouble that might come later, at his core, Ernest loved his mama, and she adored him right back. Yet, Ernest Ray Lynn gained a bit of a reputation as the wild child of the family. In his younger days, Ernie had a rowdy streak that kept Loretta on her toes. He actually joined the Army as a teen during the Vietnam era and served as a mechanic overseas for a time, which showed he had discipline and guts. But when he returned to civilian life, the temptations of the road and outlaw country lifestyle got the better of him. Over the years, Ernest had numerous run-ins with the law, something that surely caused his mother grief. Reports emerged of incidents ranging from selling cocaine to an undercover officer, to even being involved in a gunfight that left an innocent bystander injured. He also racked up multiple DUI arrests in the 1990s and 2000s. Ernie was living on the edge, much like a character in a country song about hard living. Unfortunately, one of those incidents had tragic consequences. In the early 2000s, Ernest was driving under the influence with a friend, Larry Claxton, in the passenger seat. He crashed the car, and Larry was killed in the accident. In 2003, Ernest was charged with vehicular homicide due to that fatal DUI crash. It was a dark chapter for the Lynn family. Loretta's boy, whom she loved so much, had made a terrible mistake that cost a life. The news made headlines, and for a while Ernest's name was in the papers for all the wrong reasons. Despite these troubles, Loretta never stopped loving or supporting her son. Ernest faced the legal consequences and with time sought to turn his life around. In quieter moments, he was known as a friendly, fun-loving guy who could light up a room. He just had demons to battle. Ernest's personal life had its ups and downs too. In 1972, he married his first wife, Cynthia Cindy Plemons, whom he reportedly met through his sister. They had a baby boy. Except, surprise, it wasn't a boy at all. Cindy gave birth to a daughter, Tayla Lynn, in 1975. Tayla would end up inheriting the family's musical genes, becoming a country singer herself years later. With Memo Loretta's help and guidance, unfortunately, Ernest and Cindy's young marriage fell apart. They divorced the same year was born. Being a single dad and dealing with fame by association might have fueled some of Ernest's wild times. Happily, there's redemption in Ernie's story. In recent years, he settled down and found peace. He married his second wife, Crystal, and the two of them chose a quiet life on the Lynn family ranch in Hurricane Mills. These days, Ernest works on the ranch, tending horses, farming, and helping keep Loretta's beloved home place running. Neighbors say he's a changed man, content to live out of the spotlight. When Loretta retired from touring in 2017, it was Ernest and some of the family who kept things going at the ranch, which has long been a tourist attraction and the heart of the Lynn family legacy. Number 2. Peggy Jean Lynn. In the summer of 1964, Loretta Lynn got the surprise of her life. On August 6th of that year, she gave birth to Peggy Jean Lynn, her 5th child. Little did she know, she wasn't done yet. Moments after Peggy arrived, doctors exclaimed there was another baby on the way. Loretta, exhausted and stunned, supposedly replied, "I can't leave it in there." Of course, the second twin was delivered safely. "Hello, Potty." And Loretta suddenly went from mother of 4 to mother of 6 in one day. Peggy was named after Loretta's younger sister, Peggy Sue, who was also a country singer. Being a twin and the baby of the family came with a different upbringing. By the time the twins were born, Loretta was a well-established star. The twins grew up with a superstar mom and a home base at the famous Hurricane Mills Ranch, where fans might be picnicking outside or touring the house on any given day. It was a unique childhood, to say the least. Despite Loretta's regrets about spending so much time on the road, she said one of her biggest regrets was being away from her kids during those years. Peggy and her twin Potty grew into talented young women with music in their veins. In their early 20s, Peggy and Potty decided to join forces as a country duo fittingly named the Lynns. Starting in the late 1990s, the Lynns recorded and performed together, carrying on the family tradition. They had a record deal and put out songs that made a splash on the charts. In fact, they charted on Billboard's Hot Country Songs twice and turned heads with their rich sibling harmonies. Their 1997 single Woman to Woman was a hit, and the industry took note. The Lynns were even nominated for the CMA Vocal Duo of the Year in 1998 and 1999, rubbing shoulders with the likes of Brooks and Dunn and other big names. It looked like Peggy and Pi might be the next Judds, a dynamite sister act rising up. 1997, the Lynns release Woman to Woman, which becomes their signature song and a country chart success. 1998 and 1999. They earned back-to-back CMA Award nominations for Vocal Duo of the Year. A rare feat for a brand new act, let alone twin sisters. For a few years, the twins toured and even appeared on TV. They once guest starred on Walker, Texas Ranger, singing on the show. Fans loved that Loretta's girls were making their own name. However, by the early 2000s, the Lynns amicably parted ways as a band. The music scene is tough, and while they had talent, it was hard to sustain momentum. Peggy, in particular, seemed ready for a more low-key life away from the spotlight. So, what happened next for Peggy? She transitioned into a peaceful life of family and farming. Loretta revealed in a personal essay that Peggy became a master farmer, turning her garden at the ranch into a little piece of heaven. You can just picture Peggy in overalls and sun hat, tending to rows of vegetables and flowers, maybe humming a country tune. She embraced the role of homemaker and mom as well. Peggy married Jimmy Collins and started a family, having at least one son of her own. By all accounts, she's a devoted mother. In fact, Loretta often bragged about how both of her twins became amazing moms, saying she was more proud of the mamas they are than anything else. Peggy's children, Loretta's grandkids, have grown up surrounded by that ranch life and Grandma Loretta's love. These days, Peggy Lynn keeps a low profile. She occasionally pops up at tributes for her mother or special family events, but she's largely left showbiz behind. If you visit the Lynn estate, you might just see Peggy quietly contributing, perhaps coordinating a museum exhibit or helping out at a holiday gathering. Number 1. Patty Eileen Lynn Russell. Born on the same day as Peggy, August 6, 1964. Patty arrived as the unexpected second twin, much to her mother's astonishment. Where Peggy and Patty differ is what happened after their youthful duo days. Patty had the performance chops just like her twin. She could sing and entertain with the best of them. But as the Lynns chapter ended, Patty discovered her true calling behind the scenes in the music industry. In the 2000s, while raising her own growing family, Patty reinvented herself as a record producer and songwriter. Patty married her husband, Philip Russell, in 1998. And together, they have a huge family, 6 children of their own. Yes, Loretta was thrilled to become a grandma many times over thanks to Patty's kids. Balancing a music career and motherhood was something Patty likely learned from Loretta's example, and she handled it with grace. Starting around 2016, Patty teamed up with John Carter Cash, the son of Johnny Cash and June Carter, to co-produce all of Loretta Lynn's albums in her late career renaissance. Can you imagine the pressure of producing your own mom, especially when she's a country legend? Patty was undaunted. She had grown up in studios and side stages, absorbing all that knowledge. Loretta trusted Patty immensely, even crediting her with keeping so much of My World running in those years. Indeed, behind every great star is often a great support system. And Patty became exactly that for her mother, the organized, savvy producer, making sure Loretta's music stayed top-notch and true to her vision. One of Patty's proudest professional achievements was bringing a very personal story to the screen. In 2019, Patty Lynn Russell co-produced the Lifetime movie Patty and Loretta, which dramatized the friendship between her mother, Loretta, and her namesake, Patty Claney. In this project, Patty partnered with Julie Fudge, Patty Klein's daughter. How perfect is that? The two daughters of country music worked behind the camera to honor their mom's bond. Patty Lynn Russell poured her heart into making sure the film was authentic. She even gave interviews about how she grew up hearing countless Patsy and Loretta stories. To her, Patty Klein was almost like an aunt she'd heard about all her life. The movie was a love letter to a special friendship, and Patty's role in creating it showed how deeply she cared about preserving country music history. Amid all this, Patty's home life was bustling. Raising 6 kids is no small task. Loretta beamed with pride at how incredible a mother Patty turned out to be. Patty's children have started to find their own way into music too. In February 2024, Patty's daughter, Emmy Rose Russell, auditioned for American Idol and wowed the judges with an original song. She earned a golden ticket to Hollywood, proving that Loretta's musical legacy extends to her grandkids as well. Patty was right there cheering her on. It's a safe bet that Grandma Loretta was smiling down proudly at that moment. Today, Patty Lynn Russell continues to manage parts of Loretta's enterprises and legacy. She's often the family spokesperson and was instrumental in organizing tributes after Loretta's passing. With her experience as a producer, Patty understands both the artistry and business sides of music better than just about anyone. While she might not be in the limelight as a singer these days, she's very much in the mix of everything that keeps Loretta Lynn's name alive and well respected in the industry.